Hello and welcome to HIR Wellness Institute. We're located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and HIR Wellness Institute works with, provides mental health services and wellness services for Indigenous people and people in underserved communities. So we're very glad that you're joining us today for some information about a special kind of yoga that we're able to offer here, and maybe a little bit of practice of that yoga if you'd like to do some movement today. So again, welcome. Feel free to settle in. Maybe grab some water or tea or coffee if that's what you're into today. And just a little bit more about HIR Wellness Institute. The programming here includes a hotline called the CARES line for anyone who might want to talk with someone about anything that's difficult that you're kind of going through and just wanting someone to talk to as a resource. My name is Kristin Sutter. I'm a trauma-sensitive yoga facilitator. So I'm here today to talk about yoga, and also with me is Xavier Smart, who is a mental health professional, and he's going to be sharing information with you in the comments section. And so he'll share that information about that CARES line there. So you can call that at any time. And then if anything comes up for you or you have any questions during our session today, feel free to leave a comment for either Xavier or me in the comment section. And Xavier can let me know if there's anything that you want to talk with me about, and if you want to address anything just specifically to him, he'll answer. The other programming at HIR Wellness Institute is meant to help people who are victims of violence, and violent crime. So if there's a survey that you could take to fill out that would help direct the programming here and help us understand better like who we're helping out and how to better offer services. So Xavier will also put that information in the comment section as well. And if you're open to taking that survey, that would be helpful. So as you're taking some time to get settled, maybe finding a chair to sit in, or if you prefer the floor, feel free to have a seat on the floor as well. I thought before I went in today to kind of explaining a little bit more about the style of yoga and doing a more like a longer practice, we might do some exercises just to get grounded. So if you'd like to join me, maybe finding a way of sitting that you'd like to try, either on a chair or on the floor, like we said. And then as you're here, you might rest your hands either palms down or palms up. That's your choice. So maybe resting your hands with your palms down or with your palms up. As you're here, you might notice where your feet are in contact with the floor. Maybe noticing where your sitting bones are in contact with the surface below you. Maybe resting your tongue on the bottom of your mouth, if you'd like. And as you're here, you might start to notice if your breath is moving. Maybe noticing if your breath is moving. Maybe noticing any temperature or texture beneath your hands. And if you're hearing any sounds, you might become aware of the sounds around the edge of the room, or maybe even outside if you have your windows open. Maybe taking a few moments to tune into any sounds you're hearing in your space right now. Maybe bringing your awareness to the present moment. And then whenever you're ready, we might return to just natural breathing. If you felt like you came into a more formal shape for that exercise, feel free to sit in whatever way feels restful for you right now. So I'll just take a little bit of time to talk more about what trauma-sensitive yoga is. And I'll explain like one key component of this model of yoga, this style of yoga. And then maybe we'll take some time to practice that, that component of this style of yoga. If you'd like to do some movement, we'll do that. And then there'll be some time at the end for questions. So, trauma-sensitive yoga is one kind of trauma-sensitive yoga. There are many styles of trauma-sensitive yoga designed by many people. TCTSY, or trauma-sensitive yoga, TCTSY for short, is currently the only style of trauma-sensitive yoga that's been through scientific studies and been shown to reduce symptoms of PTSD. And it's a specific kind of PTSD. This model of yoga was designed to address the trauma that happens in relationships. So physical, emotional, sexual abuse, or neglect. And that's trauma that may happen to us as children or maybe as an adult. And our brains and our bodies adapt to that kind of trauma in a very specific way in order to help us survive, which is brilliant because it does help us survive. It can also make it a little bit difficult or very difficult sometimes for us to trust ourselves and maybe other people, because we become experts at noticing what's going on around us. But maybe we aren't really experts at what's going on inside of us and for us, either because we don't have a chance to pay attention to our own body signals, or because we're taught or it's reinforced for us that our body signals are wrong somehow. So one of the really key things that happens in that kind of trauma is that we maybe lose a sense of our personal power. There's a dynamic that like someone else maybe has power over us. So this model of yoga was really careful about and intentional about approaching the practices, every session in a way that returns power to the people who've experienced that abuse. So in a traditional yoga session or any teaching environment, typically like the teachers may be at the front of the room and guiding everyone through a practice. The teacher might be walking around the room and sort of maybe informing people like, oh, here's a different way you could do this shape, that this yoga form in a way that like everyone else is doing it the same way. And that has its place, like that style of yoga, that more traditional yoga is really beneficial for some people, and it's for people who really are interested in that alignment, they want to know those things. It definitely has its place. In this style of yoga, we're really looking at how do we arrange the session so that when you're practicing, you're developing your own sense of, I'm in charge of my body and I'm the expert on my body. So as a facilitator, I am practicing with you. So whereas typically you might see the yoga instructor at the front of the room or walking around, as a facilitator, I'm practicing along with you. And you'll notice me say things like, if you'd like, or you might, and in your own time. So it's like this practice is really set up so that everything I'm offering as the facilitator is your choice. And choice is a really important part of this model of yoga. One way that researchers have described this kind of trauma that happens in relationships is an extreme lack of choice. So in this style of yoga, everything is set up so that everything that happens in the session is your choice. So you'll hear me as a facilitator inviting you to try things, and it absolutely is your choice what you want to try. And you also might hear me offering some variations. You might hear me say something like, here's a yoga form. Here's one way you might try it, or another way you might try it. So throughout the session, you get a chance to practice making choices about what you want to do with your body. So just want to check in right now and see if there's any questions about what this kind of trauma is, who this kind of yoga is for, maybe any questions about why we practice making choices or how the power dynamic works in these TCTSY sessions. Just checking in, and Xavier will let me know if you think of something and add it to the comments. So that maybe if you'd like, we could practice a little bit of TCTSY and maybe get a chance to see what it's like to practice making choices. So if you'd like, you might come to sitting either in a chair or on the floor, and it's your choice how you want to sit here. So some people like to sit more toward the front edge of their chair. Some people like to sit more toward the back. So if you're in a chair, it's your choice whether you want to sit more toward the front or the back. If you're on the floor, feel free to sit on the floor in any shape that feels right for you or interesting or useful for you today. And then if you'd like, you might rest your hands on your body, or you might rest your hands on the floor or the chair if you have a bench like me. And then for starters here, we might start to make some movement with our feet. So if you'd like, maybe tapping your toes or your heels or both. So it's your choice here if you want to move your feet. And if you are moving your feet, you're in charge of how you move your feet here. If it's useful, you might even look at your feet to see how they're moving. Maybe as we're here, you might notice some feeling or some sensation on the bottom of your feet. And then whenever you're ready, we could meet with our feet back in stillness, coming back to neutral. So in your own time, we could meet back in stillness. And then from here, maybe bringing some movement into your shoulders. So one option might be to bring both of your shoulders up at the same time and down at the same time. So one option might be to bring both of your shoulders up at the same time and down at the same time. Another possibility here might be to bring one shoulder up and down, and then the other shoulder up and down. So it's your choice how you'd like to explore moving your shoulders here. So you might choose one of the options I offered, or if you know another way of moving your shoulders that you want to try, that's your choice. As you're moving your shoulders, you might notice if your breath is moving. And then whenever you're ready, we could meet back in neutral, coming back to the center. From here, I thought we might explore some movements with our necks. So one way to do that might be to bring your chin toward your torso. And whenever you're ready, maybe moving your right ear toward your right shoulder. And then in your own time, if you'd like, maybe moving your chin toward your torso and then your left ear toward your left shoulder. So it's your choice if you'd like to continue moving here side to side in this U shape. Maybe moving side to side, following this U shape. Or you might choose to hang out on one side for a few breaths. So maybe exploring to tilting your head to one side for a while. And then whenever you're ready, maybe tilting your head to the other side. So you're in charge of how you'd like to move here. As you're choosing what shape you want to try here, you might notice some sensation along the side of your neck, or maybe some sensation along the back of your neck. And then whenever you feel like you've explored here as much as you want, maybe evened out both sides, if that's something you want to do. Whenever you're ready, we could maybe meet with our necks back in line with our spines. Maybe coming back to neutral. Maybe noticing when you come back to neutral if your breath is moving. From here, if you'd like, you might take your hands to your knees. And then in this shape, some people like to stay all the way back in their chair. Other people like to move a little bit forward. So it's your choice how you want to try it. And then when you're ready, with your hands on your knees, maybe bringing some length to your spine. So that might look like bringing the top of your head toward the ceiling. And then when you're ready here, maybe bringing your chin to your torso and rounding your shoulders and your spine forward. So that's one shape you might try here. Another option might be to bring your chin toward the ceiling, maybe moving your shoulders back and lifting your sternum. So that's another option here. So one option might be to bring your chin to your torso, maybe rounding your shoulders and your spine forward. Another possibility might be to bring your chin toward the ceiling, maybe rounding your shoulders back and lifting your sternum. So feel free to choose one of these shapes to try for a few breaths. Or if you'd like, some people like to combine these into a movement. So you might alternate between the two shapes. Maybe alternating between tucking your chin, rolling your shoulders and your spine forward. And then whenever you're ready, maybe bringing your chin toward the ceiling and rounding your shoulders back, lifting your sternum. So it's your choice. You might choose one of these shapes for a few rounds, or you might move between the two. So you're in charge of how you want to explore this kind of spinal shape. And no matter what shape you chose, you might notice some sensation in your body. So if you'd like, you might check in and see if you're noticing any sensation in your body in the shape or shapes you're exploring. And if you are moving here, the pace of movement is your choice. And it's your choice how big or small you want to make these movements. And then whenever you're ready, we could maybe meet with our spines back in neutral. So in your own time, maybe coming back to neutral. From here, I thought we might try a twist. So one way to twist might be to turn toward your right side. It's your choice if you'd like to take your left hand to the inside of your left leg or the outside of your right leg. And then it's your choice if you'd like to take your right arm into a T shape and maybe move it toward your back. Or you might take your right hand to your hip. So it's your choice how you want to explore your arms in this shape. Maybe noticing some sensation along your left shoulder. Might notice some sensation in your middle or lower back. Maybe noticing here if your breath is moving. And then whenever you're ready, maybe unwinding, coming back to the center. And if you'd like to try that on the other side, whenever you're ready, turning toward your left side. It's your choice if you'd like to take your right hand to the inside of your right leg or the outside of your left leg. So it's your choice where you want to place your right hand here. And then for your left arm, one option might be to take your arm into a T shape, maybe moving that toward your back, or you might take your left hand to your hip. So it's your choice how you want to explore your arms here. And you can always make a different choice at any time for any reason. If you're not sure which shape you want to do, you might try both and see if they feel different. And then you might notice that difference in feeling. You might use that difference to help make a choice about what you want to do with your arms here. Maybe noticing if your breath is moving. And then whenever you're ready, unwinding, coming back toward the center. From here, I thought we might explore some arm movements. So if you'd like, you might take your arms into a T shape. When you're ready, maybe bringing your hands to the ceiling. And then in your own time, maybe bringing your hands together in front of your heart. So following your own pace here, maybe taking your arms into a T. When you're ready, bringing your hands to the ceiling. And if you'd like, bringing your hands together in front of your heart. Maybe one more time, taking your arms into a T. When you're ready, bringing your hands to the ceiling. In your own time, maybe bringing your hands together in front of your heart. From here, I thought we might come into a forward fold. So one way to fold forward might be to bring your hands to your knees. If you'd like, you might lengthen your spine. And then whenever you're ready, maybe bending your elbows here. And it's your choice how far you fold forward. So some people like to go kind of like a quarter of the way. Some people like to fold maybe halfway. Some people like to bring their head toward the floor. So it's your choice how far you'd like to fold in this shape. Maybe a quarter of the way, maybe halfway, maybe bringing your head toward your feet. Whenever you're ready, be making your way back up to a vertical spine. Coming back to neutral whenever you're ready. And here you might notice if there's any sensation in coming back to neutral. From here, I thought we might make our way into the resting sequence that we typically do at the end of each yoga session. So if you'd like, you might, if you're at the edge of your chair, you might remain there, or you might maybe sit back toward the back of your chair. Coming to sit in whatever way feels most restful for you. If you're on the floor, feel free to lie down or maybe lean against something if you'd like. Other people prefer to sit in the center of the floor too, so it's your choice how you want to rest here. As you're in this resting shape, it's your choice if you'd like to rest with your palms down or your palms up. Maybe noticing where your feet are in contact with the floor. Maybe noticing where your body is in contact with any surfaces that are supporting you. If you'd like, you might allow the soles of your feet and the palms of your hand to feel soft. Maybe taking a breath into the lowest part of your abdomen. And whenever you're ready, exhaling. you'd like, taking a breath into the space below your ribs. Whenever you're ready, exhaling. Maybe taking a breath into the space around your heart. Whenever you're ready, exhaling. If you'd like, resting your tongue on the bottom of your mouth. Maybe allowing the skin on your forehead and your jaw to soften toward the floor. Maybe allowing your eyes to soften and your inner ears to soften. So we'll rest quietly here for just a few moments. You can always adjust at any time for any reason. And in just a few moments, I'll guide us out. Whenever you're ready, bringing small movements into your fingers and toes. If you'd like, you might rotate your wrists and your ankles. And then if there's any way of moving that feels left unfinished, feel free to move in any way you'd like right now. Any kind of waking up stretch. Whenever you're ready, we can meet back in neutral, coming back to the center. Maybe one more time noticing where your body is in contact with the surfaces that are supporting you. Maybe one more time noticing if your breath is moving. And then if you'd like to join me, maybe bringing your hands together. It's traditional at the end of a yoga session to say namaste, which is Sanskrit, and it translates to the awareness in me sees and honors the awareness in you. So if you'd like to join me in gratitude for our practice together today, namaste. Thank you so much for joining today. We have just a couple of minutes left for any questions that you might have about why we're making choices in the session, and any questions you might have about the style of yoga. In a couple weeks, we're not exactly sure yet, but when yet, but if you watch on the HIR Wellness page, they'll send out that information soon. We'll start doing a Facebook Live session that's like this, where it's just it's a 30-minute practice together, and then there's also going to be a 45-minute-ish private group class on Zoom. So if you're interested in doing the private class, it's a little bit different than this, and that you will be able to see me on video, and then anyone who is in the class, anyone else who's practicing, who joins the class, has the option to have their video on or not. So for people who are kind of missing that connection of seeing other people, that's an option to join that private class. So that's registration required so that we can make sure we know who's showing up and it's a safe space. And if you're interested in registering for that, you'll want to email Jamie, and Xavier will put up her contact information in the comments section. So we have that programming coming up, and then there's wellness programming every day of the week at HIR Wellness. So you can look on the Facebook site and join a community every day to go through different wellness programming. And Xavier posted the information about the CARES line if you want to talk to anyone about anything that's coming up for you. And if you didn't already, if you're able to fill out a survey, that would be really helpful for us to have too. So just checking in with Xavier to see if anyone has any questions.
What if one side is more flexible than the other? And if so, what does that mean?
Yeah, so the question is like, what if one side is more flexible than the other? And that is so normal. Like almost all of us have a side that we default to that we don't even realize. And like, so often one side tends to be maybe stronger and maybe more flexible, and the other side we just don't use as much. And it can correlate with like your writing hand, like if you have a dominant writing hand, left or right-handed, it can correlate with that, but not always. Sometimes it's due to different injuries too. So it's very cool that you noticed that. Like that's a really interesting thing to observe in our bodies. We're like, oh, hey, this is feels different than I expected it to feel maybe. But yes, super normal. Yeah. Any other questions?
So is it possible for like this type of yoga to release that strong emotion?
Absolutely. So yeah, the question is it possible for this type of yoga to release strong emotions? That's a fantastic question. And yes, it is possible for this type of yoga to release strong emotions. And that's why it's ideal if you have someone that you can trust, that you can talk with, either someone, a friend, a family member, or a therapist, maybe someone here. So whenever we have sessions like this, there's always going to be a mental health professional on the session as well. So if you do decide to join any Facebook Lives, there's always someone like Xavier here who you can talk with if something really big is coming up for you. And then in that private Zoom group class, there will be a mental health professional practicing along too. And if you do feel something coming up and you want to talk with someone, there's someone right there to talk with. So yes, it can help help us understand maybe give us insight into something that's been going on for us that maybe we haven't had access to before. So it can be maybe sometimes a strong feeling for sure. And so it's awesome to have someone to talk with. Any other questions? Thank you so much. Those were fantastic questions. And so yes, if you are interested in registering for the group classes, check out that info for Jamie. You can just email her and we'll let you know exactly when that's starting. And then if you have any other questions that you think of after the session, feel free to contact HIR Wellness Center and we'll get those answered for you. Thank you again so much for joining today. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend and a wonderful week. Thank you so much.